This podcast is sponsored by IQ Bar.
I've got good news and bad news. Here's the bad news. Most protein bars are packed with sugar and unpronounceable ingredients. The good news? There's a better option. I'm Will, and I created IQ Bar plant protein bars to empower doers like you with clean, delicious, low-sugar brain and body fuel. IQ Bars are packed with 12 grams of protein, brain nutrients like magnesium and lion's mane, and zero weird stuff. And right now, you can get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Try our delicious IQ Bar sampler pack with 7 plant protein bars, 4 hydration mixes, and 4 enhanced coffee sticks. Clean ingredients, amazing taste, and you'll love how you feel. Refuel smarter, hydrate harder, caffeinate larger with IQ Bar.
Go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20 to get 20% off all IQ Bar products, plus free shipping. Again, go to eatiqbar.com and enter code BAR20.
Welcome back to Mystery and Murder, analysis by Dr. Phil. Today, in a bonus episode of Mystery and Murder, we're talking to Ryan Kral, a park ranger with the U.S. Park Service. Now, he was on duty and present during the August 12, 2021 traffic stop involving police and Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie in Moab, Utah. 2 Moab City police officers, Officer Eric Pratt and Officer Daniel Robbins, responded to a call of a man hitting a woman. Brian and his supervisor, Melissa Hull, were also on the scene. The officers separated the couple for the night and did not cite either Petito or Laundrie for domestic violence, despite noting visible injuries suggesting potential abuse. An independent investigation has since found that the officers made several, quote, unintentional mistakes during the encounter. Now, no one on the scene that day have ever spoken out in an interview. Ryan was told not to speak out, but he is choosing to do so. So here is that bonus interview. Ryan, thank you for being willing to do this. I'm really anxious to hear what you have to say about this. There was highly publicized body cam footage that was released showing the encounter between Gabby Petito, Brian Laundrie, and the 2 Moab police officers. And it was initiated by a third party.
Yeah, as I recall, it was a random person on the street who saw the encounter in downtown Moab.
And how did you guys get called and brought into it?
Well, we were dispatched out of the same dispatch center, which is Grand County Sheriff's Office, and we use the same radio channels so we can hear the same traffic, and it sounded like a pretty serious call, so we took note of that. We were in the park doing our own thing, and then that call came on the radio, so we were keeping our ears open, see if we could help, or if it was going to come our way, or we'd be involved at all. And we were, because the radio traffic kept updating, and the Brian Laundrie drove north, and then they actually pulled into the park. So we were right there. We decided to show up and assist Moab police.
You had said you expected something different because this is often, domestics are messy, as you say, and they're often the most dangerous situation officers can get into. And this typically involves maybe alcohol and different elements, and it was different than what you found when you actually got there, correct?
Correct, yeah. I seem to recall after the different radio transmissions, after the reporting party talking to the dispatcher, which we were not privy to that. We weren't on the phone with them. We just heard what the dispatcher put out over the radio waves. So what I had heard or recall was domestic in progress, driving north, possible DUI, intoxication. So thought it was a drunk guy hitting a girl. So I came in with that bias, ready to respond appropriately.
Well, I kind of want to do a ride along with you if we can. So take us through it. When you pull up on the scene, what do you see? What's your first impression, and what do you see when you drive up on the scene?
When I got there and pulled in, the traffic stop had already been initiated, and I was coming from head on because I was at the visitor center. So I'm driving down to the scene. They're already pulled over. They're actually blocking the access road, so I had to do like a 6-point turn in my Ford truck, which was obnoxious. And then I pull in, and at this point, I believe Gabby's already out of the vehicle. She's being talked to by the police officer. And then as I arrive, the second Millhead police officer gets there too. So I just showed up to help how I could, and I believe I said something to that effect on camera.
Were you alone, or was there someone else in the truck with you?
I was alone. I had a ride along that day, but we parted ways. And when this call came in the radio, I ran out the door to assist, and I did not bring that ride along with me. So I was by myself.
When you got there, were you instructed to stay with Brian? And were you told to get the story from him, or just kind of babysit him, hold him at bay while other things were going on?
I'm not sure if I was instructed to do so, but I came in to be like a cover officer and just assist. So I trust that the police are doing their thing, talking to her. I am now watching him. So there's two suspects at the time, 3 police officers. We need to find out what's going on. So they instruct Brian to come out of the vehicle, and then I'm kind of babysitting him, watching him. And I probably should have just remained silent, but I wanted to find out what was going on, see if I could help. And I started asking him questions.
All right. And when did your supervisor arrive on the scene, Melissa Hull?
She got there a couple minutes later. I'm not sure when, but I think I had already been talking to Brian roadside. I think he'd already sat down on the curb. I'd already started asking investigative questions, and then I recall my boss showing up later on, maybe 5 minutes or so.
What did Brian tell you had occurred between he and Gabby leading up to them being pulled over by the police?
He mentioned a squabble or a duel, and I asked him to describe the duel in detail, because again, the call that came on the radio was guy hitting girl, possibly drunk. We quickly determined that he doesn't drink. No one was drinking. It was wrong information, because when they hit the curb, we later determined that they were fighting while he was driving. And I think we found out that Gabby had grabbed the wheel while he was driving, and that's why he hit the curb. And that's why the radio traffic was like, oh, they just hit the curb. So we're like, oh, this is reasonable to believe, or back up the theory that maybe it's a drunk driving incident, which it wasn't.
We have a clip of that from your body cam, so we can take a look at a little bit of that.
Yeah, so I heard it on the radio. I guess you guys got into a disagreement at Moonflower?
Yeah, no, we were outside Moonflower, and I was just trying to... Our disagreement was... I can't even pinpoint our disagreement. Our disagreement is just that sometimes Gabby gets worked, my fiance gets worked up.
Sure.
And the thing was just that it's not really a mess back there, but she says that I'm all dirty, and you can see my flip-flops are all dirty. So she was just on my case about being dirty, and I was saying, okay, well, I'm sorry about that. So then we decided I said, let's lock up the car and just go for a little separate walk, just to calm down for a second. And she wanted the keys for the car and everything, so
sure.
That's when it turned into a little bit of a duel. And then I was loud and verbal.
Can you describe the duel? Because I'm going to say this. It looks like you're bleeding on the right side of your face, by your eye, right eye, in several spots. And then down here,
I got a baby wipe for her and me. And, yeah.
So you got scratches here, here.
I was just trying to keep this hand here, pushing her away, and she had her cell phone and her rings and everything. So
she struck you.
Yeah, but I'm not trying to push that. I'm not claiming to be the victim. It was a squabble, and I'm sorry if we got
Well, no, it sounds like a physical altercation between you and your fiance. So it's a domestic dispute. The police are here. We're here figuring it out. Are you all right?
I'm fine.
Okay.
I hope he's fine too.
Have you ever, you guys have done this before? Squabbled in public like this?
Small squabbles.
Touched each other physically like this?
Small squabbles, never in public. It's gotten slightly physical before, but it's not like anyone's got a broken bone or anything. I just have some. It'll heal.
Tax day has passed, but for many Americans, the trouble's just beginning. If you missed the April 15th deadline or still owe back taxes, listen up. The IRS is filing over 5,000 new tax liens daily. And with tools like property seizures, bank levies, and wage garnishments, they're applying pressure at levels we haven't seen in years. But Tax Network USA has you covered. You can still regain control. Your consultation is free. Acting now could stop penalties, threatening letters, and surprise levies from escalating. Call 1-800-958-1000 or visit tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. That's DRPHIL. The deadline has passed, so let Tax Network USA help before the IRS makes the next move. That's 800-958-1000 or tnusa.com/Dr. Phil. Have you checked your home title recently? Many homeowners never have, leaving themselves vulnerable. Scammers can steal your home title, forge your signature, and target your equity. Protect yourself from fraud before it's too late. Secure your title and your financial future today. You won't even know it's happened until it's too late. Ensure you're not a victim. Use promo code PHIL at HometitleLock.com to make sure your title is still in your name. You'll also get a free title history report plus a free 14-day trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring of your title, urgent alerts to any change, and if fraud should happen, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. Go to HometitleLock.com now. Use promo code PHIL. That's HometitleLock.com, promo code PHIL. I hope you're enjoying this special airing of Mystery and Murder, Analysis by Dr. Phil. This is a weekly podcast where we pull back the curtain on headline-making cases and the perpetrators behind them. We strive to step into the darkest corners of the human mind. What compels certain humans to do the unthinkable? And how do these cases unfold? The truth is often more chilling than fiction. There's a new episode every week available on all podcast players and on YouTube. Tonight, we're featuring our exclusive interview with Park Ranger Ryan Kral with the U.S. Park Services. He was on duty and present during the fateful traffic stop involving police and Gabby Petito and Brian Laundrie in Moab, Utah. He is the first person to come forward to speak out about that day. Here's more of our exclusive interview. Did he say anything else? Because we just looked at a clip. Did he talk about his relationship or how their trip was going?
I did ask some more questions about their trip, their itinerary, where they were going, what their plan was. He said fiance and engaged for a year, so I took that to be significant. I think maybe would have treated it differently if they had just met and then they're hitting each other in the street. It's okay, you guys obviously you know each other well. She agreed to marry you. I figured this was uncommon. I figured, he said they've never argued like that before. So, yeah, I don't know if it was just, without hindsight 2020, seeing what happened, maybe it's just they're having a really bad day and got out of hand. And, it's stressful to be pulled over by the police. And we took it very seriously. And even so, I'm seeing the evidence in front of me, trying to be reasonable. The way he said he kind of pushed her away despite him getting hit. He said he was hit by a phone, scratched. he had rings on his. She had rings on her fingers. That is what he attributed the scratch marks to. So it seemed reasonable. It didn't feel like he was lying to me. And then the more we, tried to build rapport with the guy to get him to open up and tell me what's going on. And then ideally I would have asked Gabby the same questions, but I never actually talked to her. So it wasn't really my place or my traffic stop, but.
Right. You could see her though, correct?
The closest I got to her was probably 10 yards away. I saw her talking to the police. I saw her go to the back of the car. And at the very end, I saw her when she got back in the van to drive away. And I remember as she walked past, Brian was looking at her over his shoulder. So I was trying to distract him from communicating with her. So I started rambling on about snakes or parks I worked at or random wildlife nonsense to distract him. But yeah, unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to talk to Gabby. I never said a word to her. Got to interview her.
Did you see her crying, and could you tell if she had damage to her face?
I did not, and I didn't see any marks on her. I didn't get close enough. Looking at some of the body camera footage in retrospect and the documentary, I guess I could see it now, but at the time I wasn't aware of that. When the news broke of the photo she took with the big red mark on her face came out, that was pretty shocking to me because I feel like we would have noticed that. But sometimes, all the time, bruises, they don't appear instantly. There needs to be some time. And I wish we would have known.
Are you saying you would have noticed that? Are you suggesting that that wasn't there at the time?
I actually couldn't say because again, I never got close enough to see. So I'm sorry. I don't think it'd be fair to say that, but I don't know.
You were saying that it would have been obvious at the time. Or are you suggesting that it got there later in some way, or it just hadn't manifested at the time?
I believe I was saying, with bruising, in my layperson, not expert opinion, the bruises don't come right away. Usually some time happens before they become visible. But I don't think we saw them. I don't know if they were there then. It could have happened later. I don't know.
When Hull got there, did she interview Gabby?
After the fact, I realized she did because I've seen her body camera footage. At the time, though, I was kind of focused on Brian, and I know that my boss at the time was talking to the other police officers and spoke to Gabby. It makes sense to have a female officer talk to a female suspect or victim. So I believe that happened. I just wasn't really tuned in on it at the time. I just assumed we were all doing what we needed to do, trusting each other to do our jobs.
Yeah, and you have some things you want to talk about regarding your supervisor, Hulls, and we'll get to that in a bit. As I had mentioned to you earlier, could you overhear any of the conversation that the police or your supervisor had with Gabby? Did you overhear any of what they were talking about?
No, I didn't hear any of that. They were too far away, and I was preoccupied with Brian. And a couple times, I think you can see it on video, there were moments when the police were talking about what they were going to do, hashing things over. And then Brian would kind of tune out and look over at them and try to listen in. So I would just distract him and break that up and just keep rambling about my personal life or the Park Service because to stop him from getting that information, if he is the suspect, maybe he's going to take some of that info and use it use it later, or I don't know. So not good to have him listening to the police deliberate, even though at the time I had not determined him to be the primary aggressor. But yeah, I was just trying to distract him, break it up.
Let's cut to the chase. Your savings could be in serious trouble. When Elon Musk is out here warning us to brace for temporary hardship, you might want to listen. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. Are you going to sit back and hope for the best or take control of your financial future? Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505. That's DRPHIL to 50505 today. Well, I viewed some of the footage that you shared. I viewed some of the footage that you shared with us from your body cam, and it seems like most of your conversation with Brian was kind of casual conversation, talking about arrowheads, his guitar, rummaging around in the back of his van. Did anybody tell you to talk to him about things just to distract him instead of interrogating him?
No, that was just me, I guess, off the cuff rambling, trying to build rapport. Because I'm not great with uncomfortable silence. So rapport building is incredibly important, though, with suspects and victims, so they can trust you, open up to you. You can make them feel comfortable. I believe at one point, too, towards the very end, I said, like, hey, I'm sorry if I'm intimidating you at all. Like, if you're scared, like, I'm just trying to help. It's not a direct quote, but I feel like I said something to the effect of, like, or at least I thought it, thinking if this was a girl who had just gotten, beat up and injured, would I still be asking interrogative questions, as opposed to just being like supportive and like doing like psychological first aid and trying to, help them through this super traumatic experience. Of course, this situation, it's all out the window because we know how it ended. But I don't know, I was kind of going back and forth between looking for info, asking questions, doing my best to calm him down and treat him with dignity and respect as a, guy who was bleeding and got hit.
Did you find his story believable?
It seemed very reasonable. The evidence that I saw seemed to be backed up with what I saw and what he told me. And I know there's this video of me going like this, like simulating what looked like the attack or like the disagreement, or the duel that he described. He said like she was grabbing his face, so he was pushing her away like this. When I asked, like, did you strike her at all? Did you put your hands on her? He's like, no, I just pushed her away. Well, I think he said she started swinging. So it added up. It was reasonable to believe. And then when one of the police officers came back in the scene, I relayed like what he had told me with him present. Like, this is what he told me. And I didn't hear what Gabby had told them from her or from the police. So I couldn't like match the stories up or compare and contrast them, but I trusted that they knew what they were doing. And I'd never met them before that day.
Yeah, of course you hadn't met them before that day. We have another clip of this. Let's take a quick look at this.
What happened after that?
The phone.
The phone. So you pushed her and she hit you?
She was. It wasn't like a push, and she jumped on me. She was already. I don't want to. Swinging, and I was
multiple hands.
A lot of angles, a lot of nails, a lot of rings.
Yeah, you got 3 scratches on your neck. You've got one on the left side of your nose. You've got one on your face here, and you've got 4 bleeding over there.
Right.
So it looks like 2 hands coming at you. Do you mind lifting up your right sleeve for me? I'm curious about that.
Oh, okay. That's a little bit of nails. I suppose fingernails.
Yeah,
I'm not complaining.
Absolutely.
I'm not complaining about
Is
fingernails.
it bruised or tender or anything like
No,
that?
no. I'm fine.
You're obviously injured a little bit. So, yeah, they're going to do their thing, figure it out. As of right now, Park Service is kind of helping out. I appreciate you chatting with me.
Did you know these Moab officers?
No, and I'm sorry. That's what I had said before. I'd never met them till that day.
Have you had much contact with them since this happened?
Sort of, a little bit. We don't work together much, but in trainings, overlapping. It's a very small town, and what I would have assumed at the time was a small agency assist, us backing each other up to do our jobs, turned into this huge, massive, tragic event. So with that, kind of bonded by that and try to reach out and be supportive and friendly. I'm still in contact with some of them.
Have you seen their body cam videos?
Yeah, I saw theirs. Theirs was released pretty quickly. But I watched all the videos on YouTube. It's been years and years.
What was your reaction to how they handled the situation? Would you have handled it the same or differently? And I know 2020 hindsight gives you a different perspective, but in looking at them, did they make mistakes here? Would you have handled it differently?
I think they did a better job than I would have done on my own. I still don't know. I'm still not totally familiar with the exact statute that or what would happen that day. I enforce federal laws, so it's different. And when they were explaining to Brian what was happening and what was going to happen, like the next steps, that was the first time I heard that. And then I tried to just talk it over with Brian, like, so as I understand it, this is what's going to happen next, and here's the rules. I was unfamiliar with that whole process, but heard it on the spot, and it seemed reasonable, seemed like it made sense.
You know that I'm one of the executive producers of the documentary, and you probably know that I've worked very closely with Gabby's family up to during the time that she was missing. Before she was discovered, that I've worked closely with them. And so I know all of the family and have great empathy for them. And the family, and I think the public in general, have been very critical of the way law enforcement handled this on the side of the road. And I get that everybody has the benefit of 2020 hindsight now, and they weren't on the side of the road, but they've been very critical. And the primary criticism seems to focus on it was kind of like maybe a good old boys club out there, that she, as often is the case with domestic violence victims, blamed herself and was saying, it's my fault, and that the officers were just all kind of informally chit-chatting with Brian, just shooting the breeze with him. What do you say about that? That's what you were doing. You say you were doing it to distract him. The other officers have been criticized for doing the same thing. One of the officers was criticized for being chummy with him and saying his wife had anxiety. Looking back, how do you feel about all of that?
I've seen quite a few videos and comments and about how we're just sitting there hanging out, chatting with him, laughing, yucking it up. And yeah, I guess it could look like that, but it certainly didn't feel that way. Feel like we were trying to be super professional and empathize with everyone there on scene, both Gabby and Brian. And yeah, people are saying goofing around, hanging out, boys club, women are emotional, like that kind of nonsense. And yeah, I don't feel that way at all. I feel like you just said, as is the case often with domestic violence, women blame themselves. I believe there's some credibility to that, but also saw it as an admission of like, hey, the call was he's hitting you. Did you hit her? It's like, well, no. And she's like, no, I started it. I hit him first. So we saw like, okay, the reasonable facts are she's admitting that she hit him. So as much as we would have liked to have just took the bad guy to jail, arrested the drunk driver, that wasn't the evidence that we saw.
Well, you've all had training in domestic violence, right?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what training Utah Post has, but I'm certain they have to have training in it. I think it's one of the most common things that city police deal with is domestics.
Yeah, and oftentimes we know victims will try and defuse the situation for fear of retribution when the authorities leave, or even if the perpetrator goes to jail overnight or for a few days or whatever, then they have to deal with the wrath of whatever the consequences are when the abuser gets back home. So oftentimes they're like, no, it's okay. Listen, don't agitate the situation any further. It's my fault. We know that's Psych 101. You don't confront the abuser if you're the victim, and you don't do things to create bad consequences for the abuser that you're going to have to pay for later. So it's certainly not a shock that she was blaming herself and trying to say, no, it was me, not him. And of course, we have the benefit of 2020 hindsight now that we know he was, in fact, violent. We know, in fact, that he was dangerous. We know, in fact, he's a cold-blooded killer. But I think people are critical because they're saying that it wasn't handled with those fundamental core principles in mind, and I think that's why people are critical.
That echoes through what I've seen online and the videos made and the documentary. And yeah, I mean, I was there. I talked to him for an hour straight, and I certainly didn't see a cold-blooded killer. I'd say he wasn't at that moment, but I mean, a month later he did it. So yeah, terrible. And
what would you do differently if you had it to do over again? What would you do differently?
It could be partially, it could be all my fault. Like just the clip you just showed me with me talking to Officer Robbins, Brian's describing to him what happened. I could have remained silent and let him just talk, let Robbins ask him the questions, because he'd talked to Gabby and I hadn't. But instead I stepped in and I was like, it looks like this, and here's an injury. And I was trying to be helpful, but who's to say them trusting me on scene, a police officer they didn't met before, didn't sway it into confirming that he was not the primary aggressor. And I don't know. If I could go back, man, it'd be a cop-out to say, wish I wouldn't have showed up, because I didn't have to, but I wanted to help. And wish I could have talked to her as well. I never got the chance to. It wasn't really my place to. I'm not sure I even had the right to, but would have liked to have talked to her and asked them both the same questions, looked for consistencies or inconsistencies in their story. Looking back too, I've looked into those lethality assessments. Those seem to make a lot of sense. And again, if it's just a sheet with some very important questions to ask, could have asked both of them, done a lethality assessment on both of them. So I think that's a good thing. That could improve. I think that's a positive for police work now. It's a shame it had to come at the expense of, these young people's lives. But yeah, there's no going back. So try to learn from it. See, we're still talking about it, and wish none of this had happened. But police are still reviewing and learning from this kind of case. I'll tell you what, at least in my agency, some experience I've had, pull people over with protective orders, and you usually never arrest because they're like, yeah, just advise them and let them go. It's like, person is in a car with their partner who they have a restraining order against. They're violating their restraining order. They should go to jail. And I've seen it dozens of times where the jail doesn't take them. There's no room. The prosecutors don't want to prosecute it. It's I don't know if it's just easier, but it's just kind of how it goes. It's not right. But since then, I've talked to some other rangers, and they're like, yeah, we don't mess with that anymore. We don't want to get a lawsuit or get somebody hurt. Because imagine, like, let's say, this isn't what happened, but let's say Brian and Gabby, there was a protective order, like, against each other. Like, let's say Gabby had filed for a restraining order against Brian, and they're still driving across the country, which you see quite a bit in police work. People just ignore these orders that are given by a judge. Would they have arrested then? I would think absolutely. But for here, there was none. It was just like, we don't fight like this. This is a one-time thing. Stress, 100-some degrees outside. Gabby just spent all morning cleaning the van. Brian got in with his sandy feet. And I know that was mentioned in the documentary. And that's the last thing I said to Brian, too. It was like, hey, wash your feet. And possibly, that's where they're like, oh, you're just chummy, joking along with the guy. And it's like, well, maybe, but if your fiance just spent all day cleaning your home / van, be respectful. Don't upset. Be respectful of the space you're in. I would be furious too.
One of the things that I think I had a problem with, and a lot of people had a problem with, was we're in the middle of the desert here, as you say, 100+ degrees. This is somewhere they've never been before. Obviously, they're on a cross-country trip, and they were separated, which is a plus. But Brian was sent to a hotel paid for by a domestic violence shelter. So Gabby, a 22-year-old young woman, is left alone in the middle of the desert, clearly distraught, in a van at night. That seemed backwards to me. Do you often see 22-year-old females alone in a van in the desert at night? I mean, is that a good idea?
I think, with what you're saying, obviously, like,
I know you didn't make the decision. I'm just asking
out west, national
what's
parks,
the common practice?
Van life, bloggers, and there's just Moab in general. Like, I feel like half the town are single women living in vans, honestly. So it's not the norm. And what you're saying, I imagine to most of the country, does sound pretty wild. Like, what do you thinking is going to happen? Like, street smarts, but also, I hear your point. That makes sense. And not to go off topic, but there were 2 women in a van who were murdered in town, right near town, actually. And people actually thought that it was connected to Brian and Gabby's situation. So that's another example there of the point you're making. Yeah.
Well, this is what her face looked like. We know this, and so we know what she's been through. We know what she said, but I mean, this is clearly a distraught young woman. And he goes to a hotel where there's a shower and a bed and food, and she's left alone presumably for the first time ever, in a strange desert in a van by herself, upset. That just seems so odd to me.
I'll speak on the separating them thing. So
and there's the picture. I think. Can you see the picture?
Yeah, that's the one I was mentioning. That was pretty terrible and shocking when it came out. I certainly didn't see that. I didn't get close enough to see her, and I don't know. I don't know if the officer saw that or if it was there at the time. I really don't know. Yeah, terrible.
It just seems so odd to me that he goes to the comfort of a hotel. I'm not saying it was like some 5-star hotel or anything, but she's in the back of a van alone, having get punched in the eye, as we can see, and he's in the comfort of a hotel. It just seemed like totally backwards to me. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 officers there, and nobody says, should we maybe put the more vulnerable party here in the comfort of a hotel and let him stay in the van? Or did I maybe I'm being I don't know, misogynistic and saying that? I don't know, forgive me if I am, but did anybody bring up the fact that this seems
actually
backwards?
Brian did. He was like, "Hey, I'll take the van." So the thing with the hotel, from my recollection, was that it was a logistical move based on the reality of being out west in the desert and separating them for the night. I explained this to Brian, and I don't know if it was redacted on my body camera footage, but I mentioned earlier trying to explain what I was just hearing for the first time of what was going to happen with them. So as I understood it at the time, there was a lawful order for them to separate. And I understood that there was going to be charges and a court date for Gabby. And they were legally not allowed like a temporary protective order. There was one in place, and they were not allowed to contact each other, because if they did, she would go straight to jail. So in order to facilitate them resolving this how they wanted to, which was like they want to get back on the road and do their thing, keep going. It's like, well, you legally can't be together tonight. They only have one van, so it's not like one can take the car and the RV. It's like there's one van, you have to be separated. And Brian suggested him on camera. He's like, I'll just go find a place to sleep. It's like, well, how are you going to get to the courthouse? Because he had to go to the courthouse to file a waiver to remove the protective order so he could legally be with Gabby and continue. And I remember telling him, like, yeah.
Wasn't that all being done online because of COVID?
When I told him this, but I was like, hey, yeah, I was like, you're lucky. She's trying to blog. You have internet. Like, you can do her court date online, but you can't be with her until you get this waiver signed. So it was, how is he going to get to the courthouse tomorrow when it opened up to sign the waiver and then legally be allowed to call, text, meet up with Gabby and carry on?
But couldn't he do that online?
I think he had to get the waiver in person. I'm not totally sure, but I believe he had to walk there himself, get it in person, and get it signed. And then after that, it's like, all right, it's signed. You are now allowed to text, call, and meet up again. And then he was going to call her. She was going to get the van and go pick him up. And honestly, like, it wasn't like, hey, buddy, here's your hotel room. You did it. It was like a convenience and logistical thing. It was like, how is he possibly going to get himself to the courthouse tomorrow? Because otherwise, they're not legally allowed to be with each other or talk to each other. And there's only one car between them. And is he just going to wander the desert for the next few weeks or leave her stranded? So that was what I understood to be happening at that time.
Well, when you left the scene, Hulls had talked to Gabby and you had talked to Brian. Did you two compare notes?
I did not compare notes with Mel, and I should have definitely with all the officers involved. We debriefed and talked about it afterwards, and then, of course, when she was missing, it blew up. We were like, oh, shoot. And then I tried to, I reached out to the Tetons. I talked to a special agent. I was like, hey, I know these people. I just pulled them over a month ago. This is where they're headed, or what they told me they were headed. I have an hour's worth of interviewing him on the roadside. And they were like, I don't think we're that interested. And then the next day it hit the news. And then they're like, oh, shoot, okay. And then, manhunt, nationwide coverage. And unfortunately, she'd already, I believe, been murdered at that point.
But you and Hulse didn't discuss it after you drove away?
When you can see at the very end of our cameras, left them on a little too long. We're like just talking like, oh, here we go. Like, that was crazy. It was the end of our shift. I was ready to leave. It seemed like we just assisted Moab police. We were just cover officers. Probably it was inappropriate of us to even say anything at all, but of course Mel stepped in to talk to Gabby. I talked to Brian for an hour straight. Told him probably stuff I shouldn't have, but just trying to build rapport and see if I could help.
Did investigators reach out to you to discuss the traffic stop since you were present?
No, I just said, hey, here's my body camera footage, and then I wrote up a report describing what I saw. That was it. I remember, I think they were headed toward their end goal, or the terminus of their trip, I think was like Washington or Oregon. So I told them that. And then, of course, they were like, okay, great. Don't talk to the media. I'm like, sure thing.
And you told him that you had interviewed him for an hour and that you had the body cam footage, and your boss said, no, you don't need to give that to anybody. And you said that your boss, I guess that's Melissa Halls, is who you're referring to?
No. When I saw the story actually on Snapchat, when I was in Colorado helping cover the National Monument there, it was like van life girl missing, and it was their pictures on the front. And I was like, oh, shoot, I know these people. I just talked to them a month ago. So then I reached out to a contact in the Tetons, and then I spoke briefly to a special agent a week later, and just tried to give them what info I had. And our body cam footage is secured online, so they could just access it when they needed to. So, but no, at that point, after the traffic stop, myself and my boss at the time, Mel, didn't really have much to say about it because we thought it was like, all right, domestic dispute, a labs case. There's nothing else more for us to do.
You're currently on administrative leave now. Did that spring from this case and how it was handled or not handled, or has that come from something else?
I think it comes from something else. I will say that this is probably like an asterisk or a cherry on top. Like, also, you can get rid of the guy from that and stop this very interaction we're having now from happening. So I think this is just a bonus. It could be part of retaliation, but there's been a lot going on. So
yeah, you made the statement. You said, I've responded to the biggest domestic violence case in recent history, and now I'm fighting domestic violence and sexual assault allegations myself. And you say, I've never been charged or convicted of any domestic violence or sexual assault crimes, but yet I'm being targeted, is how you feel.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff I'm reading that's been leveled against me it's outrageous and crazy. And I don't know. I think it speaks to the arrogance of my agency if they're going to falsely accuse someone of doing horrific, despicable things like this. It's like, well, maybe you don't pick me, who was, visibly part of that tragic DV and murder case.
Well, what did you want to say about this? Because I want to give you a chance to be very clear about this so people know your side of this story.
Okay, I'll just jump into it. Been an EMT for 12 years, National Park Ranger, law enforcement for 10 years. Park Service is pretty crazy. It's like America's best idea. I think it's got a lot of issues though, especially in a day with like Doge and government fraud, waste, and abuse. You'll notice how the Park Service is usually in the news every day saying they need more funding, and it's America's highest rated government agency from the outside. From the inside, it's consistently ranked in the bottom 25th percentile. It's a really small agency, and it's kind of the dream job. So people do crazy things for this agency, and it's really small that like gossip travels really quickly. But basically, I had some complaints. I eventually filed a complaint against my supervisor at the time, who was present on the traffic stop with Gabby and Brian. Nothing came of that. I had some other personnel issues with friends, coworkers, people I dated. Long story short, to the point, February 2023, I had a disagreement with someone at work. We were romantically involved at one point. I had a bad day, and I texted them a bunch of stupid crap off the clock on my personal phone with the intent of like clearing the air. It didn't work. I was accused of sexual harassment, to which I was like, well, this person's been harassing me for years, and here's all the evidence to prove it. They ignored me. Rather than say like, yo, Brian, the Park Service is a huge problem, sexual harassment. It's 2023. This is completely unacceptable. You're punished. You're fired, whatever. Rather than do that, I believe that person was intimidated to or bribed by given a permanent job into lying to the police, procuring a temporary civil stalking injunction against me. This document says that I'm like driving past their house and threatening them. It's like, I don't even know where this person lives. I just told them to leave me alone, and I made some stupid jokes. It says right on here, like, my chief ranger is the person they reported this to. So this was a calculated, coordinated effort in order to remove me from federal employment, because while this temporary civil stalking injunction was in place, I couldn't legally possess a firearm. And if it would have stuck, I wouldn't be able to possess a firearm for 3 years, and it would be easy to fire me. So I went to court, got a criminal defense attorney. This was dismissed with prejudice because it was ridiculous. And now, more than 2 years later, I'm still sitting at home getting paid unpaid admin leave, doing nothing. I can't transfer. I can't do anything. All I can do is quit or wait. So I'd been hired by Customs and Border Protection. I hear there's a big border crisis, but can't go there. I was hired by almost hired by the VA hospital to be a police officer and help serve our veterans. Can't do that. Can't transfer. Just outrageous. This is sadly, there's other people who've been treated this way by the Park Service. And it's, I don't know if it's just sick irony or part of their game, but to track down an ex-girlfriend and have her say that I strangled her, it's just like a sick joke. Like, I've never put my hands on a woman or really anyone. I'm a police officer. I'm sworn to protect and help people. And it's just crazy how this has been. At some point, play ball with internal affairs. I call them. They pretty much ignore me. And then I eventually went to the sheriff's office, and I'm like, this is perjury. They swore under penalty of perjury that these statements are true, and they are completely false. They can be so easily disproven. One good police interview would just blow this whole thing wide open. The sheriff office they seemed very supportive at the time, but they couldn't help with much. Eventually they did, and then they kind of dropped the ball or left me hanging. I then went to the FBI. I had 2 FBI agents come in and interview me. Public corruption, government fraud, waste, and abuse, criminal solicitation, a couple felonies that I believe my worker peers committed in the attempt to get rid of me. And namely, that's something. If you text somebody 2 or 3 more times, if you text someone or contact them more than 2 times, technically you can be called a stalker. So it's good to have a low threshold because people who need the protection can get it. Otherwise, they wouldn't. So it's good to have them easy to get. But to be used like this viciously in retaliation or just to get rid of me, it wastes the court's time. It wastes the police's time. It's wasting our tax dollars. I have 2 years salary and 7 years worth of back pay just sitting here waiting for something to happen. And then, we talk about the government wasting money. Like, this is a perfect example. They've already proposed terminating me after 2 years and still waiting to be terminated. It's ridiculous. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling. It's been a stressful go even before I was put on leave.
Well, I'm sure it has. And there have been two different coworkers, right? Are they working together in these complaints, or are they separate?
The link between the two, besides being romantically involved with me at one point, is my manager. We're all working under the same department, all visitor and resource protection. And that's what I believe happened. Managers started asking everyone involved, anyone who was close to me, to smear me, defame me. And their stories don't add up. I would say if they were in on it together, there wouldn't be glaring contradictions and ridiculous false statements between the two of them. So it's not that brilliant of a conspiracy, because you can just look at every one of the testimonies and they all contradict themselves. So I don't think they're in on it together, but I believe my manager is for sure.
You acknowledge you sent some text messages that were not your finest hour, right? That probably wasn't the best idea.
Absolutely. On my personal phone, off the clock, the amount of stupid crap I post on Instagram in an attempt to make people laugh, jokes with people I know, and I curse way too often, and absolutely, so regrettable. It's also a very simple fix. I have a First Amendment right. I can say stupid crap if I want to. Maybe I shouldn't as much, and I could certainly fix that. But to go from this is a bad word and inappropriate text to wild claims of aggravated sexual assault and stalking and strangling, that's outrageous. It takes away from actual victims, and to waste police resources on that. And also, if any of these things were true, why didn't they go to the actual police? Why go civil? Why am I the only one talking to the FBI and the sheriff? There was no mention of this civil stalking injunction in the Park Service's internal admin investigation. Why didn't you mention that? It's because it was a lie. It wasn't true.
Could it be because the standard of proof is higher in a criminal situation than it is in a civil situation?
No,
That they've got a steeper hill to climb if
You're
they go
certainly
criminal?
correct. And for me, that's why if I could just get, I've been on leave for so long that the statute of limitations for defamation is running out. But yeah, criminal, the burden of proof, criminal case is beyond reasonable doubt versus preponderance of evidence, much easier civilly. And that's why they did it, because technically, you send someone more than 2 messages, you could technically be a stalker. You like their Instagram post, you send them a text message, and then you say hello to them in public, they could lie to the police and get an injunction against you, which is why you're entitled to get a hearing.
Well, but if they can't freeze you out, though. I mean, you're waiting for the National Park Service to make a final decision to fire you before you can go to the Merit Systems Protection Board and get in front of an administrative judge to be reinstated, but they can't slow walk you. Can you not file a tolling letter to stop the statute of limitations clock from running on defamation while you're awaiting this, so you don't, I'm not a lawyer, but
I was going to say,
they can't have it both ways. They've either got a rule or you can stop the clock so you can preserve your defamation claim.
that sounds absolutely brilliant, and I will look into that as soon as I get off the phone with you. But yeah, I think that'd be great.
Yeah.
But more so, even so, just like myself.
I mean, free advice, you get what you pay for, but I think that'd be something I would check into.
More so just the exposure. Like
everybody's entitled to due process.
And that's all I want is due process. I think with due process, be it from the FBI, the county, my own agency, or anyone, or even the court of public opinion at this point, like look at the evidence. Like this is crazy. It's a crazy waste of time, money, resources. They can't backfill my position. It's been 2 years of no one covering the park. I think maybe about 10 people have died in the park since I've been on leave. It's like, okay, what are we doing here? Why didn't you fire me 2 years ago if you could have? Like, it's just, it's awful. And,
because you want to be a park ranger, right? You want to go back to work and do what you do.
Yeah, it was my life goal. It was truly the honor of my life to help people on search and rescue, EMS calls, law enforcement situations, even when it ends tragically, like with Gabby and Brian. It's super rewarding work, but man, with allegations like this, I don't know how I could be trusted to write a parking ticket again. And my agency is so small that, exes are out there defaming me right now, turning friends against me, just gossiping and talking poorly of me. It's like, well, where am I going to get a job now? And also, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm certainly not going to resign while under.
Well, I commend you for being forthcoming about it. I think that's the best thing you can possibly do. You said that Hull gave an interview and that it was not true. What was said that you believe was not true?
Well, Deseret News interviewed my old boss, and there's something about like I could still hear her voice, and I implored her to rethink her relationship with Brian. And I could tell that it was toxic, and it's like, well, you didn't say any of that because your body camera footage is out there for the world to see. And she even said in the article, like, oh, I didn't even look at my body camera footage because it's too painful. It's like, that's what the body camera is there for, so you don't perjure yourself or, look like an unreliable person when you can't remember things correctly, which, by the way, with transcripts from the call she made against me, calling me sexist and elitist, demanding trainings, all this other false stuff. Like, someone should look into this, and forgive me if I haven't filled out the right form to the right body, like the Office of Special Counsel or whoever, but I went to Internal Affairs, Office of Professional Responsibility multiple times, and they're not impartial. They basically pick someone they don't like, or at the whim of a chief ranger, they will make a report sound a certain way. And here I am.
Ryan, it's okay for you to talk about your coworkers and, in fact, your supervisor, but you understand, of course, that I have to treat these as allegations because they're not here to push back or give their side of the story. So I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying there's only one side of the story here, so I have to treat these as allegations. In spite of the inconsistencies of that statement that she may have made, allegedly made, and body cam footage that says what it says, in the final analysis, if Gabby's biological mother and father and step parents who love her as much as her biological parents do, and I know all four of them, if they're watching this, and I can promise you they are, what would you say to them right now?
I can't imagine. I would apologize. We did the best we could. Everyone on scene, we really did try our best. Nothing we say is going to take away from the loss of your firstborn child and, all of her siblings. It's terrible. The reason why we get into law enforcement is to, I imagine, prevent tragedies like this from happening. And, I don't know that we'll ever get over this. People are still learning from the case, learning from our mistakes, finding new mistakes that we weren't aware of at the time. Really sorry for your guys' loss. wish there was more I could do. And ideally, I'd like to get the chance to get back and help the next person, but I'm not sure if I'll be able to with the situation I'm in. But terribly sorry to them. And I really apologize if this comes off as bad taste, but I feel terrible for the Laundrie family too. It's tragic all around, but absolutely Gabby's parents, her siblings, like, yeah, you guys have been through it, and they're now doing their best to increase accountability with police officers, and they're doing good work with the foundation, and I hope they keep doing that.
Well, I know you weren't primary on the scene, but I'll ask you this question as a representative of someone that was there. Did the system fail Gabby Petito? Did you fail Gabby Petito?
Well, I certainly feel like a failure. It's a good question. I suppose. I mean, systems, they're designed to help. If not, I mean, what are they for? If not that. So, and obviously she's not around anymore. So I suppose it did. And not to detract to my nonsense that I'm going through, but I'm very learning quickly how the systems don't work. You know, you go to the police, that's a hard thing to do, and then you just get ignored, etc. So yeah, you want police to be people that are trusted in the community. They're gonna be there for you, and when, but it looks like more often than not, it's just like a cab, or if you're a police officer, you're terrible, or you can't trust them, and it's not how it's supposed to be. I try to be very open and trustworthy, and instill trust with the public. So yeah, maybe we did, all of us, not just myself, but like the system failed.
If you could turn the clock back to that day and there's one thing you could do different, what would it be?
Well, it happened outside the park. I'm in proprietary jurisdiction in Utah. I don't know what I could have done legally, but I think I would have liked to have talked to her. And I never got the chance to. I would have just probably asked the same questions I asked Brian. I'm not sure what it would have solved. Maybe it would have solved nothing, but I don't know. I guess there's a lesson in that too. Like, I certainly did trust, and I still do trust small police officers. But maybe we could have communicated more. You can always improve, and I don't know.
Well, I appreciate your candor in responding to that, and I appreciate your candor in talking to me today. I've really endeavored to give you a chance to speak openly and clearly here, and you've taken that opportunity, and I respect you for that, and I thank you for that. So I'll conclude at this time, Ryan, and really appreciate your speaking forthrightly about this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Ever notice your dog slowing down and having health issues and wonder, what can I do to make them better? Well, my friend, add Rough Greens to your dog's food for 90 days and I guarantee you'll see changes that will amaze you. Greetings, naturopathic Dr. Dennis Black, inventor of Rough Greens here, and I invite you to give your pup the Rough Greens 90-day challenge. In the first 30 days, you'll see shinier coats and increased energy. By day 60, your dog will have a stronger immune system, less shedding, improved joint function, all due to the live nutrients that you've added to their diet. And at 90 days, better digestion, reduced inflammation, improved heart health, and you may even have reduced their cancer risk. Fetch your dog a free Jumpstart trial bag today. Go to tryroughgreens.com. Use promo code TRYROUGH. That's TRYRUFF. Go to tryroughgreens.com. Use promo code TRYROUGH. You discover the shipping. You don't have to change your dog's food to improve your dog's health. Just add a scoop of Rough Greens.